Good morning and welcome to another In the News with myself, Sapphire Gray. Today is the 9th of August. We're in the second week of August, and I hope you all had a lovely weekend. I'll be bringing you news every week. It's late today because of the setup that we've got, but I hope that you enjoy In the News with me when I'll be covering different news feeds for you to listen to it as an expert in the property field. Each week, I bring different topics to you that interest me and that I like to share with you. So, today, in the news with myself, we're talking about capital gains threats returns, property disposal warning. A leading tax expert advising investors to plan your disposals. After new capital gains tax figures have risen, speculation of an increase in the near future. Figures from the HMR Treasury released yesterday shows that its capital gains tax receipts hit 9.8 billion in the 2019-20 tax year, up fourfold from 2.5 billion achieved a decade ago. Now a tax specialist, Sean Moore, tax and financial planning expert of Quilter, warns this is likely to just be the start of a record year of the amount brought in the capital gains, and preliminary data from the Office of National Statistics is already showing this is to be the case. The most recent budget, the Chancellor froze the annual CGT allowance at 12,300 until 2026 at the earliest, and Moore says there is no guarantee that the tax rate will stay at the current level as the government scrambles to find revenues where it can. Clearly, with asset prices rising and frozen or decreasing allowance, more people will ultimately be brought into the scope to pay CGT. As such, it's a good idea to plan of your disposals ahead of time to ensure a more tax efficient way of disposing your properties. There's a caution here as well. The amount of paid in CGT dwarfs what is bought in by inheritance tax, and such will consider the more attractive tax to rise for the Treasury. The fact that 41% of CGT came from those who made gains of 5 million or more suggests an increase rates is far more likely than any other policy tweak. So what do you think of the new getting rid of your properties and making sure that you've planned for the disposal of them so you don't engulf yourself with all of this capital gains tax as well? Please share in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. In avenues, we have agencies. Property firms say additional homeowners should pay higher taxes. What do you think on that? Do you think property owners should pay more taxes? Okay, so a prominent property consultancy is urging the government to ensure that holiday homeowners pay more tax. Colliers claim local authorities are losing out on millions of pounds for council tax income because of the government's business rates system is still giving many holiday homes second homeowners the opportunity to avoid paying tax, provided that their property is available for rent. So what do you think of that? Do you think that the tax should be cut or increased because people are turning their property into holiday homes? Should they avoid paying council tax? Collier estimated the total loss of local authorities from business rates relief for holiday lets in England and Wales alone is currently around 110 million a year. It describes that a significant sum that could certainly help bridge the gap in local authority finances now suffering because of the pandemic. Property owners who make their properties available to rent as holiday lets for 140 days of the year can claim that they are a small business and as such can elect to pay business rates instead of council tax. However, as a small businesses, they can claim for relief of 100% of the business rates payable if their properties have been rateable value of less than 12,000. These properties with a rateable value between 12,000 and 15,000 are entitled to some tax relief. Collier says the designation of properties as holiday lets is a growing phenomenon. In Cornwall, Devon, Somerset and Dorset, combined 9,600 new properties are claiming 100% business tax relief over the past 4 years. The Southwest now has 21,312 properties in the rating list and are eligible for 100% business rates relief. And Collier has estimated that if these properties have less properties at least paid council tax, the local council will benefit from 35.5 million annually. What do you think of that? Do you think that, people should switch back to council tax, or do you think it's okay for them to do it? It's a legal process. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think on this. If you're on Facebook, I do apologize. We seem to be having some broadcast issues. I'll try and sort it out as I'm talking. So if I'm messing about, it's because I'm trying to sort this broadcast out. In avenues, don't expect a quiet August, says senior estate agents. If you're hoping for the summer to lull during August, think again. Well, why is this? That's the message from Nick Stevenson, Manager Director of Fine Country UK, who says that the factors are such heightened consumer confidence, low mortgage rates, an increase in the availability of high loan-to-value mortgages products, and continue to search for space, continue to support the demand from the first-time buyers and home movers alike. The first half of this year has proved the busiest ever on record, housing over 880,000 properties changing hands. Nearly 200,000 sales took place alone in June. Prior to the stamp duty deadline, over twice the average since 2011 through to 2019, the highest monthly total ever recorded. Meanwhile, the Bank of England reports that the value of a mortgage lending hit an all-time record of 43.8 billion. Stevenson comment, the market has drawn breath in recent weeks, obviously because of the stamp duty holiday coming to an end, in part. The market has drawn breath in recent weeks. New mortgage approvals fell 6% in June, while buyer demand dipped 7% in the 4 weeks since June the 28th. So, however, 81,000 mortgages approved in June, over 20% higher than the longer term June average. And as agents reported, buyers' inquiries remain steady. The market remains buoyant. What do you think on this? Do you think that the market is remained buoyant? Do you think it's still going to be this splurge that we've seen over the recent months and weeks? Please share in the comment. And if you're on the replay, and if you're in Facebook and you're not seeing this live, please share in the comments on the replay. I'd love to hear your feedback on this. So just type in #replay and I will definitely come back and respond to any of your comments. In avenues, 50,000 if you move house to an island. Wow. So someone's offering 50,000. Here's a way to encourage house movers to pay potentially vendors 50,000. The Scottish Government is launching an official consultation on the idea, which proposes to pay up to 50,000 to owners on the Scottish mainland who may want to move to a Pacific island. 5 million has been allocated in a bond, enough to pay 100 households 50,000 each in a bid to tackle population decline across the Scottish Islands and provide funding to help people stay or move to islands. The consultation will run over the next 12 weeks. Island Secretary Murray says the island bond will help us to deliver on some of the commitments from the National Islands Plan. It's a way of us to address some of the key financial barriers for people who want to live on our island. Each of our islands are unique, and this consultation will help us understand some of the population challenges. What do you think about that, being paid to move to an island? Would you do it? Would you take that up? I'd like to hear your feedback on this. St. Avenues property. First time buyers flee London in a record number. Now, I know there's a lot of first time buyers out there, and I know at the end of the day, they're trying to get on the property ladder as much as anybody else. But now they're looking at it, we can now move out of London and benefit from that. London has purchased over 60,000 homes outside of the capital in the first half of 2021. And many of those buyers were first-time buyers. An analysis by Hamptons found that Londoners purchased 61,830 homes outside of the capital, the highest half-year figure since the agency recorded in 2006. Londoners made up 8.6% of those buyers outside the capital, the highest proportion on record, and up by 6.6% in 2020. Hampton says that the raise is flexible working combined with affordability barriers meant that the first-time buyers made up a quarter of those Londoners buying outside the M25. It also may be fueled by the pandemic that recently, over the last 18 months, we've all been going through. While London now attracts more buyers from outside the capital than pre-pandemic, the numbers are still low relative to those leaving, meaning London's population is likely to fall this year. The mix of those buying beyond the capital, though, has changed. The first-time buyers are more likely to leave London more than ever before, while second home buyers and investors have squirreled on by with the stamp duty holidays, such as uplifting in Londoners looking outside of the M25. Over the last year has come from those buying their first home. The capital loss has been to the home country's gain. Or what do you think? Do you think it's a good move for people to move outside of London? Would you move outside London to save your money, knowing that it's going to save you money? Not only that, but also encourage people to live a different way of life as well. I think a lot of people have reflected over this period how to live differently, what should they be doing, and live their life to their fullest, because anywhere you move to with flexible working, internet, all those things to consider, people are now saying, you know what, I can now live outside of London. Would you consider it? Share with me. In the finance news, 92% of brokers are confident about their prospects over the coming year. The brokers' optimism has increased since the beginning of 2021, according to a recent survey from savings accounts, bridge loans, development finance, and mortgage providers, Musthaven Bank. Of the 186 brokers who took part in the survey, the vast majority, 92%, expressed confidence about their prospects over the next 12 months. In the survey, respondents were asked questions concerning thoughts on the mortgage market and the direction their company will go during the next 12 months. As the UK returns to somewhat a normal level, optimism has obviously grown, allowing people to now look at refinancing, purchasing, investing. Therefore, the brokers are now reaping those rewards, and so rightly so that they can now look forward and say the outcome is more favorable for them now. In avenues, landlords tip off where to find discount homes in London. Landlords wanting to break into London buy to let has been provided with a guide to borrowers of the most discounted properties. The Benham and Reeves letting agent says sellers are remaining realistic about their expectation in the current conditions. This means that there are plenty of homes selling at reduced prices compared to the initial asking price first entered onto the market. Across London as a whole, 31% of homes listed for sale have been reduced in asking price while on the market. Lambeth provides the best chance of securing discount London properties in the current market conditions, with 38% of the property stock listed for sale in the borough having been reduced in the asking price. Hammersmith and Fulham also present a good opportunity of finding a discount purchase, with 37% of homes being seen a downward adjustment in the asking price. Camden, Kensington and Chelsea and Wandsworth have also seen 36% of homes reduced in the price, with Southwark 35% and Westminster, Merton, Richmond and Tower Hamlets making the top 10. In contrast, just 18% of homes in Barking and Dagenham have had the asking price reduced, the lowest proportion of all London boroughs. As a result, many sellers have adjusted their price expectations in order to secure a buyer. If you want to secure a discount purchase, you had better be quick, as London has gradually responded and the property market has quietly been building momentum, and we're now starting to see properties selling at a far better price than they were a few months ago. Do you think the prices have come down? Do you think you'll start to reinvest in London because of this? Well, I hope you do. London still needs the boost as well. I buy my properties in London as well, and I also buy outside of London. So share with me whether you're looking to get back into the London market to buy, and specifically the areas that I mentioned as well. In avenues, landlords, where rental stock is short supply across England. New research by a property investors consultants has revealed which regions of England presents the most promising opportunities to the buy-to-let landlords based on the shortage of stock in the current rental market. By analysing the overall stock levels of private rented homes in each region of England and comparing it with the number of available rentals listed in the same area, it highlights where there's the most need for rental properties. Across the whole of England, there are 4.7 million private rented dwellings. Of those, some 168,634, or 3.6%, are currently on the market looking for new tenants. So, however, when you're looking at each region of England, and the data suggests that there could be a higher demand in some regions due to lower percentage of availability rental homes against the size of the overall market. In the southwest, there are some 520,000 private rented homes, but currently just 7,802 of those are still available to rent. So what does these figures actually show? So if you're looking to get into the buy-to-let market, know that there is a shortage of rental properties. So it's a perfect opportunity to get into it. The figures that are here are staggering. That there isn't enough available stock for the rental market, therefore allowing any person that wants to get into property investment can do so at the pleasure of making a profit and being able to rent out their property because there's a shortage. And I've always said that when you're looking at supply and demand, always make sure that you've got the supply, because the demand is definitely there in the instance of renting out property. If you want the table that I have as well, please let me know and I will be able to share that in a group. And it shows each area where there's a need for rental properties. In avenues, top 10 tips for landlords to keep cash flow in shape. So what does this mean? An accountancy firm is giving landlords 10 top tips to keep their cash flow in a healthy condition. The Sherrod's accounts firm says that the pandemic shows how cash flow position can change almost in an instant. And for this reason, outside control for the landlords themselves and losing that control. Here's what the firm's advice is. Prepare, number one, prepare for tenants turnover. Every day a property is left empty is a day your cash flow is decreasing. So it's essential to be prepared for a tenant turnover period. This means setting aside savings to cover the mortgage payments in the months without the tenant. You should also have a plan in place to fill vacancies as soon as possible, whether that's investing in marketing or working with an estate agent. So always make sure you have a plan if you lose a tenant. Handling late payments immediately, number two. If you're a new landlord, handling late or missed payments might be something you haven't experienced yet. But it's important to handle these quickly as possible. Missed rent payments are an immediate disruption to your cash flow. Any holdups in addressing these with your tenants will lead to long-term cash flow problems. Always make sure that you're always ahead rather than behind. 3, property maintenance. Always undertake regular preventative measures to your maintenance, making sure that your property is up to date. You've got your boiler checks, electrical checks done in advance so that it doesn't disrupt the household and that your tenants are not feeling like they're having to reach out to you for the maintenance because you've already got that under control. 4, install efficient fixtures. He also advised installing high efficient items such as low flow shower heads and toilets in the property can help reduce utility bills. Whether you cover the bills as a landlord or these are included in the tenant's agreement, you can entice your tenants to lengthen their contracts if the amenities of the bills is low. Good advice. 5, making improvements before you let it out. Make small improvements to your property will allow you to charge more rent. Leaving renovations for a later date can lead to further expenses, which isn't good at all. 6, always separate the bills. When you're looking at, if you're doing a HMO, is your bills included? Are they being paid separately? If you're renting out the property as a single let, make sure you separate the bills out. Thinking about your tenants' agreements. Are the utility bills currently included in the rent? Or does the tenant pay them separately? Separating some of the bills will happen to actually alleviate some cash flow as well. So it's always advisable to separate out the bills if you can. 7, collecting rent via direct debit. If you're still collecting rent yourself, you could be placing yourself and your business at risk. Winterburn says, we would recommend that using an automated system to collect rent payments. This could help to reduce the likelihood of any personal issues or problems preventing you from collecting payments. If you prefer to collect rent payments, ask your tenant to set up a direct debit agreement to meet up all your up and coming payments. Review number 8, review paid services. Regularly review any services you pay in a way of steady cash flow. That could be electrical, gas, all these services that you can actually move over to save some money. We recommend every 3 to 4 months, they said, spending some time reviewing any paid for services you currently have and how much you spend on them each month. Review whether the investment every month is worth it, the reward if worth it, or consider terminating the service, and this will turn to improve your cash flow. 9, review payment dates. When it comes to managing cash flow, you should always have money coming in before you pay anything out. With this in mind, you should review the date mortgage payments leave your account and try to move the payment dates to the few days following any rental payments, creating a buffer for yourself. Number 10, respond to issues quickly. I've always said this. When an issue comes up with the property, the sooner you deal with it, the better. Resolving problems quickly will always lead to your tenants being happier and you being happier as a landlord or lady. In avenues, council cracks down on 171 buy-to-lets in just 1 week. Wow. Redbridge Council in East London has undertaken its toughest ever clampdown on buy-to-lets, visiting 171 properties in a week. The visits, all in Ilford, were make sure private rented properties were safe and residents were happy with their accommodation. It also gave residents the opportunity to have their say about the state of their properties and their relationships with their landlords. This was the highest ever number of inspections of privately rented accommodation in a borough undertaken in a single week. Of the 171 properties, the team identified 41 were operating without the necessary licenses, and enforcement actions are now being taken out on these landlord managing agents. A further 22 properties were referred to the planning department for illegal conversions, and there was one serious health and safety risk. As part of their visits, the officers provided properties with smoke detectors on the spot. Issues such as damp, mold, and other disrepair where landlords failed to carry out remedial actions with reasonable timeframes have also been investigated. This year, Redbridge Council has already issued 21 penalties notice totaling 34,500 worth of fines for landlords breaking the law. Now, there's no need for you as a landlord to break the law. It's always good to just be compliant and do what you need to do to support your tenants. You wouldn't like to live in a hole, so why would you want your tenants to? Always make sure you do all your gas checks, your electrical checks, so that you're putting your tenants in a safe place and they would enjoy the home that they're living in. In avenues, the average rents now in the UK is now at a record high of 1,029, up by 6.6%. On the same time last year is up by 2.2%. London sees a second average rent raise many months after a few years of decline, with an annual increase of 2.1% to £1,645 per calendar month. So what does this mean? That the rent rises are going up. So when you're buying a property, the rents are going up. You're allowed and able to charge more for your rental properties based on these averages. The data shows that exceptional growth in the rental values, particularly in that area, are within commutable distance to London. Throughout the pandemic, the rate of growth in the same regions were more than doubled against previous years, according to Andy of Homelets and Let Alliance Chief Executive Officer. What do you think about the rental increase? Do you think that the rental increase is needed? Do you think you should keep the rents low? What do you think? Good morning to you. Glad to have you here. Thanks for sharing. I don't know your name, but good morning. Thank you. So in avenues, average rents now are part of the new move going forward. So what do you think? Please share your comments in the news feed. In avenues, there is a shortage of rental stocks, and the council and the Tory MP to declare state of emergency for over loss of rental stock. A Conservative MP says that he has declared a state of housing emergency in his constituency because of the loss of stock away from long-term renting towards Airbnb short lets. Anthony, Tory MP, from in Devon has told the Times there has just 19 properties you can rent long term in the whole of South Hams on Rightmove. Yet there are 300 advertised on Airbnb in Salcombe, over 300 in Kingsbridge, and similar in Taunton. Yet yet we have hospital staff who can't find anywhere to live. The newspaper says he's being supported by other Tory MPs as well. Tim Farron, the former Liberal Democrat leader, who is MP of Westmoreland and Lansdale, has launched a petition calling planning laws to change to stop family homes being turned into Airbnbs. What do you think about this? Do you think that there should be a petition on this? Do you think that homes should be homes? But does people have the right to have been able to rent out any property that they buy as a holiday let? A statement from Airbnb says Airbnb is built on the foundation of helping locals afford their home, and the majority of UK hosts share a space in their own home, with nearly half of the UK hosts saying that additional income in this economy is a lifeline. I mean, if you're sharing your home with other people, is there such a thing as being wrong? It shouldn't be. Because at the end of the day, yes, it helps the homeowner to have more revenue, but also allows them to have to be renting at their home, and it's their right to do that. But it also generates income for them as well. In avenues, safety warned over office to resi conversions. There's a warning today that office to resi conversions, popular with landlords in recent years, are on an increase of risk of serious overheating due to poor design. Insurance giant Zurich says the danger is greatest in a tiny self-contained bedsit, and studio-type flats could potentially become uninhabitable due to increasing hot summers. Furthermore, the location of many offices is heavily built up in concrete areas, leaves them more exposed to the urban heat island effect, where temperatures are hotter than outlying areas, and flash floods from heavy downpours. Now, we've seen in recent news that there's been some major floodings in East London, in fact, where there's been a lot of block drains, houses are flooding, flats are flooding, and these downpours are horrendous, causing traffic jams as well. So furthermore, the locations of these are at risk. As well as the risk posed by the climate change, Zurich sees a high volume of escape of water claims on office to resi conversions, with one of the most frequent causes being the failure of plumbing systems not originally designed to service hundreds of domestic kitchens and bathrooms. There's a danger that the glut of shops and offices left empty by the pandemic are turned into cheap substandard housing and lack of resilience to extreme weathers. In particular, an overheating in new and existing homes is emerging as a potential deadly risk. Poor plumbing is also a serious issue. Issues cause major disruptions for residents. In the drive to revitalize our town centres, we must ensure that we do not create a swash of homes that are unfit for living in this climate condition. Now, I know a lot of people are doing commercial to resi conversions, and I know that they're doing it compliantly and safely as well. So yes, there is a warning here, and yes, we should always be compliant and look to do the right things when we're converting these properties. Make sure that we've got enough square footage to cover all of these situations that I've just spoken. So today I brought you several different items in the news. I hope you enjoyed it. If again you're watching a replay, please to say hashtag replay, and I will come back and answer all your questions for you. I hope you enjoyed In the News. I'll be bringing it to you each week at 8 a.m. Today was running a bit late because of technical difficulties, and we've still got them. We've not been able to stream out to Facebook, unfortunately, today, but we'll get that sorted out as we always do. But I hope you enjoyed the recording of this, which I will share. And please do share your comments and feedbacks. If you'd like to get in touch with us, please use our contact details, as you can see it scrolling across the screen, or our website, and we'll be happy to share anything with you. And if there's an item you will wish us to discuss, please feel free to share that too. Have a lovely week, and I look forward to speaking and seeing you all next week with In the News from myself, Savvy Sapphire. Have a lovely week and have a lovely day. Bye for now.